Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf here with Daily Cloud. Happy 4th of July. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Um, Unfortunately or fortunately, part of having fun is staying informed and um, adding intelligence to our good times. So I hate to be this Cassandra who updates and says, something really terrible is happening, but there's been a huge response in our community as we've been confirming very big news stories on geoengineering, news stories that mainstream media is not even looking at. So today, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your support. I found out even more about massive cloud seeding, and you're not going to like what I found out, but I'll just plunge right in. Many of you have been sending us photographs and images of weird weather, weird shapes in the skies. It sounds like science fiction, but many of the images that people are sending to Reprise can look like airplane emissions that then spread and seem to absorb the water, many people have described. Sometimes there's an odor associated with it, and then they create sort of persistent trails that cover the sky and that create overcast weather. Many people have noticed that these sprays, the spraying, and this happened, I documented it just yesterday here in Washington, D.C., many people notice that this spraying, which is visible, results, I'm not going to say results in because we're still investigating, but is followed by overcast skies, this very particular drippy particulate, this very kind of wet, spitty kind of precipitation. Gray overcast skies the next day. And many people have confirmed in the many hot spots of geoengineering, I'm going to call them that because we've had so much confirmation around the world, but mostly in the United States, now the United Kingdom, unfortunately, Australia. These are really confirming the same phenomenon to us. Many people describe this precipitation as somewhat different than ordinary precipitation. Many people describe that before a weather front moves in, there's this very visible spraying of these emissions. So those of you who follow Daily Cloud know that we've confirmed so many technologies that are not being reported well in the mainstream media or really reported as PR. We've confirmed solar radiation management that's taking place in Arizona, right? Harvard University, an evil experiment. We've confirmed massive cloud seeding all over China, all over India, in Australia, Northern California, LA, and I'll tell you about 8 states we've confirmed here in the US. Today, we've confirmed, I know that stratospheric aerosol injection is a technology that the Department of Energy has confirmed. It's got a program in. And there are other questions being raised about things like biofuels, which are now in use, and people are saying, thank you. I'm sorry, Steve wants to brush my hair. I'm not sure if that's criticism or compliment. Sorry, I just felt like I've got a narrow window, got to get this out. It's a weekend. I may not be camera ready, but I'm going to forge ahead. Biofuels are now in use. Alaska Airlines, JetBlue, they're in use, and they are made of things you would probably not want to breathe. It's a great name, but biofuels are made of fat left over from agricultural processing, lard, chicken fat, dirty diapers, extraordinary, disgusting stuff, and there's very few long-term studies about this. So I'm going to plunge on in with an article that I found about cloud seeding from a very reputable source. It's very interesting to me that people who talk about these obvious changes in the skies, right, in many parts of the country and Western Europe, are really mocked and harassed. And it turns out there's a concerted disinformation campaign to call them tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. We've had them on our own thread. And sure, baseless beliefs can be tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, but we have abundantly confirmed massive geoengineering, massive documentation of these technologies in our skies, and specifically in the battle for water. So now what I'm going to do is move. Can you all still see me? Because I'm looking to perfect my Facebook skills. So this article from Pew Trust confirms that there are 8 states that are using mass cloud seeding with silver iodide. And it's very interesting. Many of the most persistent people who have been reporting to us at Daily Cloud are reporting from Arizona. So it's kind of amazing that this article does map to a lot of where concerned citizens have been writing to us. And so the 8 states are California, Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, and others that I'll get to. And if your state is there, I'm sorry, because it's not good, which I will report further. So cloud seeding machines, this article points out, are nothing like the snow guns that are used to blast water over ski slopes. But this is very interesting. When cloud seeding machines are turned on, and we've struggled to get an image of what it looks like when something is cloud seeding, they generate smoke that floats in the air like incense. Some state programs rely on ground-based machines. Question Florida, I'll get to that and let you know, because many people are reporting from Florida. So also in Australia, we've confirmed ground-based machines, and these aren't cute. Cloud seeding sounds so cute. They are flares that are aimed at clouds that basically murder clouds. They rip up clouds, they direct clouds to bring their precipitation somewhere where the person who's stealing the water basically wants the clouds. Tennessee, says DeMarie Mulatieri. And Zachary Loveloss says, no way New York isn't in on it. Zachary, I live in New York City, and I have to tell you, I think that's right, and I've been pushing Bill de Blasio to confirm or deny whether there's cloud seeding going on. So I've been posting images of clouds that look like smoke that's been sprayed into the air. This, again, may sound like science fiction, but you've got to open your mind when there's real reporting going on. Bill Gates has funded work at the University of Washington, led by Dr. Ken Caldera, a very respected climate scientist, for a cloud nozzle. And they have been spraying clouds into the sky with a cloud nozzle. They call it marine cloud brightening. So another really important thing you need to know is that any particulate, this is recent science has confirmed this, has shown that if you spray any particulate into the air, it can turn into cirrus clouds. In other words, cirrus kind of aggregates around any particulate. So you can spray coal ash, you can spray baby powder, you can spray some of the other things that have been named by climate scientists who want to do this or are getting funded for it or are doing it. You can spray sulfates, right? That's what David Keith of Harvard wants to spray, or alumina. You can spray it into the air and you get cirrus cloud, right? I have confirmed this. I am not making it up. I've posted the link, and no one who follows this denies it. So now when you look at clouds, you have to blow your own mind open and realize that some of the clouds you're looking at may have been sprayed into the sky by technologies to create outcomes, and that some of it may be cirrus that has formed because of man-made emissions of particulate, whether it's biofuel particulate, whether it's sulfates or alumina, which have also been used. You really need to be aware of that. So when clouds look weird to you, don't second guess yourself. They are spraying things into the sky. All right. So others use airplanes to drop flares that generate silver iodide smoke into clouds, or to fly into a storm with flares strapped to their wings. This is very important confirmation. We've been saying for months, it looks like planes are releasing these emissions. And for months, climate scientists, a meteorologist from Fox, actually Paul Delgado, has been coming on to mock citizens for this observation. But in fact, Pew Trust confirms that cloud seeders are using airplanes to drop flares that generate silver iodide smoke into the clouds. The January National Science Foundation funded study, which was conducted in Idaho, was the first to show real-world observations of silver iodide, which is what they use, and silver oxide forming ice crystals inside clouds and falling out as precipitation. This research has increased interest in cloud seeding among private companies and utilities, says the head of Weather Modification, Inc., which is a site I've called your attention to before. They are very upfront about their cloud seeding. You can hire them to, make it rain over your state. And he's saying we're really able to demonstrate the technology, and they can see it's not something conceptual that works in a lab, it's measurable. So all these scientists who are trying to deter us are saying, no, they would never do that in real life. The guy who is CEO of Weather Modification says, we're doing it, it's measurable. It's not in a lab. Other studies have used computer modeling to estimate the increase in snowfall. So in 2014, 2 Wyoming mountain ranges found that cloud seeding could increase snowfall by 5 to 15% under the right conditions. This is really important too, everyone, because those who've been poo-pooing citizen investigation into what are they spraying in the air have said, oh, cloud seeding, it doesn't work, it doesn't cause precipitation, it's a failed technology. Well, there have been advances, and it's not a failed technology now. So even water scientists that I've spoken to are not current with the fact that new technologies are effective. And when you're Nestle or PG&E or Tasmania Hydro, all of these major energy companies or corporations that have been buying up municipal water, right? 5 to 15% of profit, because you're monetizing that water or you're monetizing the electricity you're making from it, that is not insignificant profit. Relatively small increases still matter, obviously. So they're cloud seeding along the Colorado River at the Desert Research Institute, part of the State University system in Nevada. Nevada's cloud seeding program is increasing the snowpack by up to 10%. That's 80,000 more acres or feet a year of water, enough to sustain about 150,000 households in Nevada. So that water isn't just generated, it comes from somewhere. It's stolen. It's a zero-sum game, right? Clouds have only so much water. They're not increasing the water, they're redirecting it. He says it's difficult to evaluate nonetheless, these programs. So moving on down, there's a picture which I'll post of these planes of Weather Modification, Inc. adjusting flares for cloud seeding on these white planes. And many people have described seeing white planes emit these contrails that don't dissipate like ordinary jet fuel. They persist, and often they expand and cover the sky. Many people, interestingly, have described seeing, and I've seen photographs of this, the contrails from these planes in grid patterns. Very weird to see that. If you are cloud seeding, I don't know the answer to this for sure, but it makes sense if you've been given a brief of cover 80,000 acres in Nevada. A grid pattern is a good way to make sure that you cover the amount of land that you've been hired to cover. Idaho Power serves customers in Idaho and Oregon. They've been using cloud seeding to boost the volume of water moving through their hydroelectric dams since 2003. They say it's a $3 million program, partly funded by the state and other water users, which generates billions of gallons of additional water. Again, misleading. It's not generating, it's stealing water from elsewhere. But Oregon, I witnessed when I was last there in Central Oregon, these emissions trails, creating visible cloud cover, and spreading to cover the sky, and then creating precipitation or whatever. Precipitation followed very, very quickly, after that. So when you do the math, it turns out to be $3.50 per acre a foot. The water resources leader at Idaho Power says, so there's big money here. The technology is advancing, And Pew Trust says cloud seeding could get even better results. In Colorado, Busto is adding more remote-controlled generators that can be driven high on a mountain close to clouds and left there all winter. They're installed on private property and manually operated by homeowners and farmers who are paid to turn them on when a storm comes. So all of you who have sent me spraying images and said they're doing this before a front moves in, you're not crazy. They are doing it before a front moves in, and farmers are paid to do it on their land. This is now confirmed. And challenges remain. State lawmakers may be reluctant to spend money on cloud seeding tech, but Wyoming's legislature put 120 to 160,000 into the state's cloud seeding program each year since it started. So Wyoming is a cloud seeding state. Kansas, and I have people from Indiana, from Idaho writing in, so you're all not crazy. I just want to tell you that. Cloud seeding program has dwindled since the 70s because of budget cuts. Cloud seeding can face public opposition. State officials who manage the program are used to explaining the science to lawmakers, their governing boards, reporters, and concerned citizens. Yeah, they're concerned. And condescendingly, Busto says most people don't understand the science very well, and they don't understand who's doing what and where. It's easy to find websites and online videos dedicated to conspiracy theories, such as that cloud seeding caused last year's hurricanes and flooding in Houston, or that cloud seeding is part of a government plot that'll eventually poison all life on Earth. Well, I have news for you. In Australia and other places where cloud seeding is extensive, it's been confirmed to cause flooding. In fact, people in Australia were very upset about the cloud seeding by their hydros, their water and electrical companies, prior to a flood that actually killed people. Have I lost you? Are we still going? I hope we're still going. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? All right. So the North Dakota has added cloud seeding, and they're denying that it caused last year's drought. And they conclude this article by saying every time something like that comes out, like Geostorm, the movie, it feeds more conspiracy theories. I'm just trying to make more snowflakes in a ski resort. Well, that sounds really, really cute, but I'm sorry to say this, but these people are lying to you, or else they're not adequately informed. Because today on Twitter, I posted a study from 1971 by the Navy, which proved that, in fact, cloud seeding doesn't make it wetter. On the days that are seeded, it makes it drier. It actually does dry out landscapes over time. And this stands to reason. If you're bursting the clouds with flares, if you're redirecting the water, you're tampering with this very, very delicate network over the skin of the earth, basically. It's like, imagine if you had no skin, you'd have no regulation of your temperature, no regulation of your blood, of your internal processes. And we've ripped up the clouds. Now, 8 states have confirmed mass cloud seeding, partly because of citizen documentation like this, and people are demanding answers. People are saying Maryland. Amanda Wirenga says Maryland is 2. Denise Eberl says Florida is bombarded. Denise, you're right. And actually, the city of Miami has been on my feed, Naomi Wolf Twitter and Daily Cloud, denying that they've been spraying for a year. But they're not denying that they sprayed prior to a year. The question is, what did they spray? Is it Naled, which has been confirmed, an anti-Zika, very toxic substance that's banned in Europe? Or have they been spraying for cloud seeding? Lynn Thurman says, awareness before action. Let's get our info together. Absolutely, I agree. Please come to Daily Cloud, support our reporting. We're doing exactly that. Brian Weisley Krausen says, I've seen them turn the nozzle on and off, change aspects and start again. That's really interesting, Brian. Please do document that. I can tell you that I've seen in New York in November and December, there were cloud tracks. I'm just going to call them that because they're not clouds now. That's confirmed. That were like tractor tracks in a pattern, and you don't see those anymore. So really, technologies, now that we know there are cloud nozzles, now that we know any particulate creates cirrus. Now that we know that they're cloud seeding, it's worth asking, is what we see coming out of a nozzle, because that nozzle now exists thanks to Bill Gates. Brandy Morano asks a very good question. What about Alzheimer's and autism? Brandy, I'm really glad you asked. This is one of those very serious answers. Silver iodide and silver oxide are toxins. They're mercury. And one of the things that is used in solar radiation management, a different technology, is alumina. That's what Harvard is spraying over the people of Arizona right now. So alumina is confirmed in multiple studies, peer-reviewed studies, to be directly related to Alzheimer's, dementia, and autism, as well as allergies. So silver oxide and silver iodide, which are used in cloud seeding, I haven't seen links to Alzheimer's and autism, but I've seen many, many links, which I've posted from OSHA, which monitors workers' health, warning that when you are around silver oxide or silver iodide, mercury, right? It's poisonous, it's toxic, it makes wildfires burn hotter. Now, Northern California is extensively cloud seeded. LA, they cloud seed in 10 areas. And the wildfires in Northern California burned like no one had ever seen wildfires burn before. But also silver iodide and silver nitrate, this Navy study showed that they're toxic to fish and to algae and to wildlife and to water and creatures that live in water. So I really want you to think about all the times you've heard about die-offs of fish, and everyone's like, what's this? Who knows? It must be global warming. Global warming is very real, but the toxins that we're receiving in our water from cloud seeding, silver iodide, silver oxide, are deeply, deeply poisonous to human beings, to pets, to waterways. Let me just give you an example of what silver iodide does. I wrote my thesis about treatments for women caught up in sex work in the 19th century. And in the 19th century, people's syphilis and venereal disease was treated with mercury, which is silver iodide. And there was something that women died of regularly called mercury poisoning. Just breathing it, having it rubbed on their skin, being around it, their gums grew over themselves. They couldn't walk. They wasted away. Their skin turned color. It was standard for women and men to die of mercury poisoning in the 19th century. People who worked with mercury in the 19th century, like hatters, like they went mad and they died of mercury poisoning. Very, very standard. So this is what we're allowing PG&E in Australia, Tasmania Hydro, all the hydros in Australia, increasingly in Europe. It's confirmed that in Germany and France, they cloud seed with flares. This is what we're allowing them to spray into our natural landscape. But I just want to close this update, this hugely important confirmatory article that is finally saying, you know what, yes, we're doing it, and it's fine, right? Well, they're doing it and it's not fine. It's been confirmed to cause drought, been confirmed to cause toxicity in algae, wildlife, fish, humans, right? It's been confirmed to change the weather, the microclimate. And the last thing I want you to think about is global warming, right? I'm not a climate scientist. I'm just a person. But let's think about our beautiful planet. It regulates its temperature through eons and eons of clouds and delicate patterns traveling around the Earth. We evolved with that pattern for millennia. Animals, mammals, fish, algae, plankton evolved with this very delicate, specific pattern of clouds moving over the Earth, rainfall and sun. And if you just get in there, for profit, Nestle and PG&E and the hydros and your municipality that wants to make money, and just grab it and rip it apart and steal it with all of these new technologies, obviously you're going to change the climate. It is by definition changing the climate, right? If you rip up the clouds that are over New York, or the clouds that are over DC, or the clouds that are over Central Florida, or you move them where they're not naturally meant to go, you are changing the climate, whether you change the microclimate or whether it has more long-term effects that nobody has studied. Why has nobody studied them? Because it's a lot easier to blame you and your not recycling enough for the terrible trouble that our planet is in than to blame governments, municipalities, and corporations for what they're doing even now and more than ever. And on that note, I should wrap up because it makes me very angry. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much for becoming a subscriber to Daily Clout on YouTube. Thank you so much for becoming a member of Daily Clout. I'm going to ask you just become a member because it helps support this kind of reporting, these kinds of videos, this kind of research, and my wonderful team of young people who are spending all day, every day working with us to bring you information like this. And thank you for your comments, your shares, your likes, and your information, because I could never have learned what I learned without you. And I hope we educate each other. See you soon. Naomi Wolf from Daily Clout.